Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's Indie Artist Music Hustle with Blonde Intelligence. I'm your host, Miss Ronnie, where I always seek to give you exquisite cranial repertoire. This week, we have a very special guest. We have Clark Kent. Say hello to everyone.
Hey everybody, I'm Clark Kent. Nice to see you.
Oh, it's nice to see you too. So, what we're going to do is we're going to let you take over and tell everyone a little bit about yourself. Some of the things that you have in your bio and in your press release and everything.
Okay, so I'm here because Lord Forgive My Soul. I started advertising this song, and the whole basis of the song was I went through a really bad breakup, and I was living with a woman for 3 years, and then I was left, kind of back to square one, single, and just with the pain of everything, and doing music at the same time. It was very stressful. And so one day, I just kind of stumbled upon this beat. And when I heard it, I felt this emotional attachment to the beat of, I did so many wrongs. I did things I couldn't, forgive myself for. And all I really wanted was to ask her for her forgiveness. And so when I heard this beat and I got that hook, Lord Forgive My Soul, it was just to me out of this world in how I wanted to express myself and how I felt about everything I went through and that I'm still dealing with to this day, even a year later. So, yeah, that song just meant it was very powerful and meant a lot to me.
Okay. So tell me this. What did you think about my review?
It was hilarious. I loved it. And
I was laughing when I was typing.
I was laughing when I got it. I couldn't stop laughing because the way the song is set up in all my other music. When I look at
hmm
all my other music, and then you
hmm
look at that song, they're so different. Yeah, it just had me laughing.
So tell me about your other music.
Well, there's a lot of it. I did a first album called Pursuit of Happiness. That was my first album, and then I did 7 singles in between that,
hmm
and then I did a whole nother album, 13-track album called Mintaka,
hmm
and then I followed that up with 2 more singles, All Damn Night and Lord Forgive My Soul,
hmm
and then right now I'm releasing an EP called Reaperville on the 23rd of this month.
23rd of June.
Yep.
Okay. So tell me about the style of music. Because you said that Lord Forgive My Soul is so different from your other music. That's the reason why I said tell me about your other music.
Okay, so I think of it, I almost think of my career as I started in 90s hip hop because when I
hmm
listen to Pursuit of Happiness, you get a lot of 90s retro feel vibes to every beat on the album.
hmm
It's really 90s style hip hop. And then from there, the singles kind of stayed that way as well. But when I
hmm
did Mintaka, that's when I moved on to a different genre, so to speak. And
How so?
I think it's the beats, the
hmm
music. What you're hearing is it's more like today's music, more of what you're hearing today.
hmm
And like
hmm
it's a mix of rock, rap, it's got that mixture in it where you really don't know what style you're hearing, but it's good. It sounds good.
What made you? You told me that you did an album, right? And then you had 7 singles in between, and now you're working on an EP. What made you go from album to singles to EP with the trend being with some independent artists that you release more singles? that a lot of people are not releasing um, albums, full albums anymore. So, what made you make that decision?
Well, I actually did two albums. So
Okay.
yeah, well, I wanted to do it professionally, I guess. I guess
Hmm.
I see the bigger artists and I see they're always doing, it's album after album. They occasionally do singles, they occasionally do a mixtape, and I wanted to stand out and I wanted to prove that I could do it. And
Hmm.
so I felt that by making an 11-song album and then a 13-song album, it's like if these are all good, then I deserve my chance.
Okay, so I'm going to ask this question because and this is dealing with like the copyright stuff. Okay, so I'm this is just me asking the question, and I just want to know how artists think sometimes. If with copyright, because I hear a lot of artists, and I'm not saying that that's your situation, but a lot of artists they only have like a certain budget for what they can do when they get ready to release. And one of the major things is having your copyright. So, how do you figure in when you're getting ready to release an album? How do you decide how many songs are going to be on the album? Because when you copyright, you can copyright 10 words at one price. And if you go over the 10, then you have to pay for a second copyright. With independent artists that have a budget, does that factor in into how many songs are going to be on the album?
Yeah, I think everything matters in retrospect of how many songs you can put on an album. Everything does because every
Mhm.
song costs a certain amount of money to make each song. So if everything does. So if you're talking about the copywriting issue, the more it's going to be more expensive the more you're putting into it.
Well, you can copyright 10 songs for one price. It went up from $55 to $85. So you can copyright 10 songs for $85 in one whop. Okay. But if you have 11 songs, then you have to copyright 10 songs for $85 and the one song for $85. So I'm just wondering, does that make a difference in how many songs that you choose to put on an album? Because if it were me and I had to do it, then I wouldn't have, if I had anything over 10, it would be 20. So I can get the most bang for
To
my
make
buck.
the make most bang for your buck, exactly. I mean, that'd be the best way to look at it, but then you have to also look at the fact that that's how many more beats, how many more, all that comes into play as well.
Well, that's when you have to find other ways to cut costs. I tell artists, check your local library. My library here in town where I live, they have a production studio in there. And for you to be able to use it, all you have to have is a free library card. And there is no price to use it. So you and your producer could book time slots in the library to go record, and it don't cost you anything. So you have to look at other
Wow.
ways to cut costs if you're going to do it that way. You have to look at where am I wasting money at, such as even when you're building a house. Where is wasted space at that I could pop a closet in or put a few shelves in, or I can create some more storage? I mean, for real.
People do
So
it.
you have to do that when you like, and then you say you're dropping on the 23rd of this month. 23rd of this month is next week, right?
Yeah.
6 weeks ago, you should have already submitted your music to Spotify for curators because you have to have it in at least 2 weeks before the album is the single or the album or whatever is released. You have to, like I said, look for ways to cut corners. And even with advertising, it is cheap to advertise on YouTube. So studies show that you have to catch a person's attention within the first 10 seconds or it's over with. So they're not gonna just look at an album cover and be like, "Oh, let me listen to this," unless they're a music. That's what they do. They listen to music. Other than that, you have to have some kind of snippet video or something to introduce it. So when you're running ads, you want to, even if you're using your own music, you want to have a visual along with it. So I always tell artists, if you know you got a song that you're releasing, release the video with the song. It's fine if you have to push back the release date, because you can't. You got to, in the instance of you submitting to Spotify on time, you also have to be promoting it at the same time. Tell me about the actual grind for being an independent artist. Tell me about the struggle of being an independent artist. And then I ask you about the rewards of being an independent artist.
It's a struggle. It's a struggle because not only are you still having a full-time job and you're out there paying your bills, you know, you're trying to fix your life in whatever way you see best. You got this whole other life where you're making music, and it seems like all the money you make is just going right into that. So it's like, as an artist, I don't think we have savings accounts. You know what I mean? Like, I really think everybody is just, as much as we make, that's as much as we can put into the music. And I think it's a repetitive cycle that makes it very hard because you're limited on how much you make to how much you can spend on that music. So while it may be simple to find promotion, it's hard to pay them. It's hard to pay for the services that people have to offer when you're, you know, stuck working some regular job and you're doing music full time. It's hard. It's definitely hard.
Now tell me some good things about being an independent artist.
I would say after every song you make, you notice improvements in yourself. You know, with every song you make, you see the flaws, you see the good things. But as you start getting better, there comes a point where you start making music that kind of hits right here, you know? And that's a feeling when you made a song that hits your own soul in a way that you can't really describe, because that's only happened from other artists that, you know, you don't know these people, but when you yourself are the one making the song that's touching your own soul and you could cry to it, you know, it's probably one of the most beautiful, most rewarding things you could ever accomplish in your life. Like, truly, it is. It's powerful.
Okay. But do you think that you could accomplish that same feeling being signed to a record label?
That would depend on the type of deal.
Okay. So tell me, what do you do for merchandising?
I have some shirts, but they are not up on the website yet.
Okay. So when you decided to do these shirts or whatever, what do you want to convey to your audience? I mean, is it just going to be a shirt with your name on it? Is it going to be a shirt with your album cover on it? A shirt with your face? What are we looking forward to?
Well, I have thought of different album covers and maybe adding things like, for instance, certain lines, certain lyrics, adding lyrics to the shirt of some kind of that, you know. Come up with something, you know. I'll have some kind of idea.
Okay. The next thing I want to ask you about is your name. How is that your real name, or how did you come up with that? And do people ever call you Superman?
Okay, so the name, so when I first got into rap, it was actually Confusion. And then I started working with someone new. And one day, it was the first time I was ever in a studio. And as I started going through the studio, he noticed how I was reacting. He goes, I got an idea. Your new name is Clark Kent. And I go, huh. And he's like, yeah, you're Superman. And so from there on, it was just, all right, I'm Clark Kent. He said, you need to call yourself Clark Kent. And he just said, it goes with your personality. It goes with how you make your music. Like, it's who you are. So,
Okay. So tell me this, because I know you told me that you were in Chicago. Tell me how the rap scene, because I know it's a difference between rap and hip hop, and we use it interchangeably. The difference in the scenes when you actually do shows outside of Chicago.
so I just registered with Afton to book live shows, and I will be able to answer that question in a follow-up interview.
Okay, that is fair. So let's move on to social media. Tell me about how you use social media to promote your music. And do you think that it's fair that so much emphasis is placed on social media?
Uh, okay, so I do use social media. I don't think it works as well when you have a lower audience, you know. I think it really matters on how many followers you have to really get a reach. That's where I think also promo comes in, where you can pay, to advertise on social media. But you know, I
I know it's difficult for some because
yeah,
it's like social media came during our lifetime.
it
And I
did.
remember
I wasn't
when,
there.
yeah, and it has advanced so much. And it's like, I was talking to one of my other guests one time, and he was like, I know it started out with like MySpace and this and that. And I was like, yeah, it did. But then it got into where artists could get paid off their music on social media, and artists become to started posting more that way because it was a way for it to get exposure. And it's like now, at first, people had other means of getting their music out there, and it's like now you have to use social media.
You do. You do have to use it, and I think that's a little unfair. I mean, but it's the way of the world now. It's social
So
media.
what is your experience with it?
I enjoy it. I tend to write poetry freely on there, just to
Okay.
draw people in. I think I have a way with words, so I try to use that to get people interested in what I'm sharing. And I
Hmm.
typically, I share all the links to my music. I share the links to my new music coming out. I try to
Hmm.
push the new releases as much as possible. But like
Hmm.
I said, that all depends on your budget and how much you have to spend, you
Hmm.
know. But I social media is a must. I mean, you have to use it. You have to have
Okay.
it. There's no way around that anymore.
Okay. Tell me what's your favorite song on your upcoming album?
Oh, um, there's 4 songs on it, and
Hmm.
I would say my favorite one would have to be "Only Friend."
Only Friends.
Yeah, it's
Why?
titled "Only Friend."
Tell me why.
Um, I think as soon as I made it, I knew it was just it had a vibe to it,
Hmm.
and it's like someone speaking out from desperation, saying, like, I don't have much, so please just talk to me. You know,
Hmm.
like a man begging from his loneliness just to be heard.
I don't know if a man gonna beg from his loneliness. He might ask, "Let me shut up. Let me shut up." So, did you write it by yourself, or did you have a co-writer? or do you write all of your material by yourself?
I write all of it by myself.
Okay. What process do you go through for writing a song?
It's as soon as I hear the beat. Once I hear the beat, I get the words and I come up with a story, an outline, and I pretty much start with the hook to get an idea of where I want to take the song for the verses and all that. And so essentially, when I hear a beat, I connect to it. And that connection creates what you hear.
Okay. Okay. Well, I thank you for coming. I want you to tell everybody the name of your latest single, the name of your upcoming album, when it'll be out, your social media handles, and anything else that you will want someone to know about Clark Kent.
Thank you. Once again, I am Clark Kent. My latest single is Lord Forgive My Soul. My upcoming release is an EP titled Reaperville. And I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for listening to my music. And thank you from the bottom of my heart for having me on your show. Thank
you're
you.
very,
and I appreciate everything.
You're very welcome. Now give us your social media handle.
Twitter at Clark West Cooper. Facebook is Clark Kent Enterprises.
Okay. You can follow him at Clark Kent Cooper, at Clark Kent Enterprises. Did I get that right?
Clark West Cooper at Twitter.
Oh, Clark West.
Clark.
What he said. What he said. Hey, you can find us on all podcasting platforms, streaming live on social media, and on the website at www.blonde-intelligence.com. And if you're listening to this on rpentradio.com, you will hear his music played during the Freedom Mix at 8 p.m. on Wednesday. So I'll see y'all next week. Bye.
Hey girl, let me tell you about this podcast.
Girl, everybody has a podcast these days.
But this one interviews new and interesting indie artists. It's called Indie Artist Music Hustle with Blonde Intelligence.
Really? Where can I find it?
It's on all podcasting platforms, streams live on social media, and on rpentradio.com.
What'd you say it was called again?
It's called Indie Artist Music Hustle with Blonde Intelligence.
Girl, I'm gonna have to check her out.
Give it a check, girl.